Shanzeh sees an Illumineer beckon others over to a large shining sphere containing a red spellbook. As rumors of an escaped threat spread, apprehension shades the halls of the Great Illuminary. Gadgets and rubbing shoulders with heroes and villains alike. A massive shift has occurred, a shift Lorcana will feel for a very long time.
Hello everyone, I am your Warlock Lebrum, and I just wanted to start today with a huge thank you for helping me reach 100 subscribers, my first real goal for the channel. Thank you so much to those of you that helped me reach this goal. Also, thank you for your patience for the release of this part, as several things kept delaying it, such as the holidays, getting sick, recovering, but the biggest holdup was I kept finding more details to go into this video. So today we'll be continuing the story of Rise of the Floodborn, going over what we see in the flavor text and arts of this set. There are quite a few interesting things that popped up this set and extend the plot points that we got from the stories we went over last video, which, if you haven't watched that part yet, I would suggest you go ahead and do so. Click on the link provided, watch that, and then come back to this video. Okay, now if you're all caught up, let's go ahead and dive in. We are told in the story that before this cataclysm occurs, we are all exploring the Great Illuminary and doing everything we can to learn about it. Glimmers have been welcoming us, the magic brooms have been maintaining it, and Glimmers have been exploring and utilizing all of the tools at their disposal, like Flavisham here. His creations are even more wondrous with the Illuminary's resources at his fingertips. We also see things that are being created by the Glimmers and the Great Illuminary. We see Maurice's workshop, which obviously is a place within the Great Illuminary as opposed to his workshop from the movie. We also see one of their original creations with the card Launch, which combines several item cards together in order to make a weapon. We see the Plasma Blaster, and a couple of coconuts from the Coconut Basket, a bow, perhaps borrowed from Robin Hood or Belle, and several odds and ends that we can see strewn about on Maurice's workshop. However, this fun and exploration can't last forever, as the cataclysm starts soon after. In the trailers, we see that Martin unleashed the flood by accident, and Chief Bogo here confirms it was this explosion. In the background of this card, we see the same seaweed-like plant strewn across the ceiling of this part of the Illuminary. We originally speculated this cataclysmic event that created the Floodborn was also tied to the disappearance of the original Illumineers, but it seems that this one is tied strictly to our time in the Illuminary. Perhaps this same thread is the reason behind the disappearance, and why the book Martin interacted with had a lock, but we're still missing some key details for this theory. However, we have several glimmers that plan to help us with figuring out what all of this means. We have Judy Hopps, who tells us, "I'll get to the bottom of what happened with that locked lore book. You can count on me." As we read in Shanzeh's view of the story, we heard the start of rumors of an escaped threat, and there isn't any evidence that this thread exists yet. In English, that is. In the app, if we look at the German version of Beast Relentless, we see that he actually has flavor text, which translates as follows. "I will find the one who escaped from the sealed book of legends. Don't get in my way." If you look at other German cards, you see that Legenden is their word for lore. So this book of legends is in reference to the lore book that Martin opens. This also confirms that it is someone and not something that escaped from the book. though this someone has brought a lot of chaos with them. I'll be going over all of the evidence as to who this may be in another video, though if you've been following my videos for a while, you have a good idea as to who I think it is. We have Falling Down the Rabbit Hole, which shows us Alice falling in a flood of sapphire ink. Thankfully, not the mixed ink, or maybe she'll end up in the mixed ink eventually and we'll get a Floodborn Alice in the future. We also see the efforts of a few glimmers to start repairing and fighting back against the flood. We have the new magic rooms of the set. Even with a hauling weight of seriously a lot, it can only do so much in a magical flood. Even our favorite Ice Queen, Elsa, seems to struggle against the flood. The power of ice may not stop the flood, but it will help protect Lorcana. So it's looking like we'll have to turn to other means to stop this flood. Once again, during Shansade's view of the events, she sees several Illumineers gather around a large red spellbook, which I have speculated to be the Sorcerer's Spellbook item card. This card on its own does have some rather ominous flavor text. Illumineers seek the power of knowledge, but must be aware of the price. Could this be in reference to Martin and the price he's caused the realm of Lorcana for his curiosity? Or is this a warning to us to discourage us from delving too deeply into what's happened in Lorcana? Or is this a warning to us in regards to what happened to the original Illumineers? Regardless, the book is washed away during the flood and we see a couple of glimmers reference it. It seems the Illumineers turn to Cobra Bubbles to help start their search for it as he asks, "Let me get this straight. Your magic spellbook got washed away in a flood of magic ink." Which this brings up an interesting point. How is Cobra unaware of the cataclysm? Were there parts of the Illuminary that weren't affected that were maybe higher up, and that's where his office was located? Or were he and several other glimmers out and away in the inklands before the cataclysm took place? Or perhaps he's just been summoned by an Illumineer after the fact, though I would think a lot of the ink casting stations would have been destroyed during the flood. What are your thoughts on this? Going back to the flood, it seems the last glimmer to have possibly seen this was the Queen of Hearts' impulsive ruler. The glow of lore in the flood caught her eye. "The spellbook," she cried. "Don't let it get away." There are a couple of questions I want to cover that this card brings up. First and foremost, the flavor text also mentions the glow of lore, which we see if we look back at the third story trailer for Rise of the Floodborn, and we see several of the items glowing with the golden aura as they are washed by the flood. Not only that, but as I mentioned in this last video, Venturo is seen floating down the halls with 4 glowing books behind him. I believe these will be of great importance, and one of them I think we may have seen in use in the last set. I'm referring to Elsa Snow Queen with a purple spellbook in her possession, which I don't think I got to cover in my first chapter videos. Doesn't her spellbook have similar designs to the lore book that Shansae is using for her ink casting in the second first chapter story trailer? Whatever the case, these spellbooks obviously hold some power, enough so that several Illumineers are hunting the book down. So, that brings into question the Queen of Hearts. Who is she trying to get the spellbook for? Herself? Or is she on our side? Venturo's story mentions how he rubbed shoulders with heroes and villains alike. So is she a glimmer working with Venturo to collect these items to help him study them? But Basil also did warn Venturo while studying the Sumerian artifact that some pieces of lore should be kept far from the more nefarious sort. And as we saw with the first chapter, this set brings several more glimmers with their nefarious schemes. While Illumineers summon all glimmers, including villains, to help collect lore, the flavor text of some would give me pause to trust some of them. Honest John, while it's a quote from his original story, with the context of his artwork, I can't help but feel like he's scheming to do something with the ink. Looking at his ability, perhaps he's exchanging ink for lore? Seems like his kind of scheme. We also see Duke Weaselton taking advantage and selling ink as well. Maybe after the flood it's harder to get a hold of ink, and these glimmers are capitalizing on this chaos and having Illumineers pay for ink to use for more glimmers. Corella DeVille has gotten some new clothes and an ink makeover with her Floodborn variant, who says, "It's ink couture, darling. I wear only the best." This may be a stretch, but what if she's making a mixed ink-infused clothing line to give to other glimmers to become as fabulous as she is? Radigan Criminal Mastermind is also furthering his own goals. "I've outdone myself this time. Soon I will have everything I deserve. Riches, power, an entire kingdom at my feet." Lastly, we also have Lawrence, who, in this new world, the crown could finally be his. So we have several villains, though being brought here by Illumineers, still are looking to take advantage of the situation that they've been presented to further their selfish goals. Regardless of the villains, the main goal of the Illumineers right now is to stop the flood and retrieve the lost lore of the Great Illuminary. So, where does that take them? While yes, we have gotten the confirmation of the theme and name of the third set of Lorcana, we have seen glimmers exploring the inklands as early as the first chapter, like with Mickey Mouse Steamboat Pilot. In this set, we get a few more instances of characters, starting with the Floodborn Pinocchio, who raced into the inklands without a thought. Prince Charming, who seems to be exploring with his own goals in mind. We also got the story of Donald and Minnie diving together for lore, and Minnie's sudden disappearance. Then we have characters like Little John, who seem to have no sense of urgency when it comes to hunting down lore. The most interesting reference to the inklands that we have this set is on the Cheshire Cat Always Grinning card. His flavor text reads as follows. "Alice felt quite confused, but I don't see much ink here at all. How can the flood still be changing the inklands?" "Things are always changing, you know," said the cat. "It would be quite a change if they didn't." Talking as cryptically as ever, that cat. As we saw in the trailers and story, the flood burst out of the Illuminary and seeped into the inklands. Perhaps it has been absorbed into the earth of Lorcana and is now continuing to change Lorcana from the inside out. Which begs the question, how exactly is it affecting the inklands? I guess we'll have to wait to go there in the next set to see. That's all that I could find in the flavor text for this set for now. I'll still be studying the set and looking for more clues for the future set. Please feel free to let me know if you feel like there's anything that I missed. I will be making a video soon on that very topic of things that I got wrong or just missed from the last few months. Otherwise, keep an eye out for my Into the Inklands video, where I'll be going over what we know so far for the set and what my theories on what the story will be. Be sure to like this video and subscribe so you can catch these future videos right when they come out. As always, I've been your Warlock Levram, and I'll see you on the next page.